This algorithm has got to be insane now. This is just one example of what AI is doing on YouTube. And the thing is, if you've got money, you can just say it's not my problem. If you get money and pay to get rid of Google Ads, which is what some people do, right? Then there is no problem. Well, they're using AI, but you don't see it, how it works as much. It's the people who don't pay for it that got tormented by it. This guy, he's a spitting image of the gunman who shot Trump. But it's not him, it's someone else. But it's popped up in this therapy advert. Look, my experience with therapy. Better help online therapy. Get matched with your affordable private online therapy. This is odd and weird. He definitely looks like the Trump gunman. This is popping up in the algorithms. That can't be right. There's some odd stuff going on. I don't like it. I don't know what we can actually do about this. See, what they'll do is they need to do certain rules for advertisers, because what advertisers are doing, they're making little jokes like, the whole thing that you want to skip the advert or you got to listen to it. So what they do is, at the start of the advert, they make some kind of little in-joke or pun about the fact that you've got to watch the advert, or that the advert's even popped up, like but it actually ends up being annoying, and even patronising, and actually tormenting. And, and other adverts that pop up have opening lines or words, the opening sentence, they match it to something that you've been looking at or reading or saying yourself, or even put in the comments in your community section, or that you've typed in search or been on another website that's not YouTube. That's kind of a little bit like in social interaction. If you're in the pub and you walk into the pub, right, it's not normal for someone at the bar to comment on that you'd just been up to Burger King and dropped your pizza on the floor, right, when he never saw it and he wasn't there. It's almost like, say if you tripped up, fair enough, if people said, oh, like the guy just tripped up outside and then all walked in the pub and they were talking about it and oh, here he is, he's this guy. But not even that. Kind of like, if you tripped up, getting on the bus, and then when you got to town and then you walked into the pub, and no one actually there was meant to have witnessed it, it would be like if everyone knew it. You know what I think it's like? On the Matrix, when you've got those agents, those agents on the Matrix when they've got those sunglasses on, like the sunglasses agents, it's a little bit like that, like they just get updated from the Matrix system with all the information and knowledge. It's almost like you walk in the pub and, fair enough, if there's a mirror on the wall, right, and he can see you, like if they have all the drinks and cocktails and there's a mirror and they can, like, he's just looking faced away from you, facing the barman, and, like, without turning around, he just sees you walk in, like, like on a movie or something like Marty McFly, and he says, like, oh, well, here he is, without even turning around and acknowledging you, right? But if there's no mirror there and he can't see it, it's almost like, they're reeling off information as if it's straight out of your own mind or from your own events. It's like that. And it's almost like, it is really like they're making, it's almost like a sixth sense or a spider sense, but it's not one that we've got ourselves. It's the privilege or exclusive to the machines, and exclusive and privileged to Google. They've got a superpower. They've actually kind of got a superpower. And they've got it with money and tech. It's like... I think that it's like the Roman army when they got like a superpower to physically come into the country with force, with the paid army, the training, the tools, the equipment, the strategy, and the shields, the swords. It was the particular, this kind of like military formation they had with all those, state of the art shields and weapons and bows and things. So it's an armed force. And really, the word force doesn't have to be violent, physically violent. You know, it could be an armed comedy force, or it could be an armed intelligence force. It's the army have got a department of, diplomatic department. They've got surveillance operations. They've got a department that uses tech and infiltration. So it's a force. Anything that applies an effect is a force. So, if you intercept someone's messages or block someone's messages or reply to a message posing as someone else, a cause and effect, and that effect has some kind of advantage, and not just on the odd person, across entire countries or people. That is a force, and when forces are used to block, alter, change, steer, or adapt nations at a time, that is a military force, I mean, you could say that, the invention of a new recipe that everyone started eating it in the whole country, or anything, they call it social cause and effect. But I think this is beyond social cause and effect, because social cause and effect is what the people are in control of. And although the people are in control of writing letters or picking up the telephone or speaking, this particular superpower, this force, is exclusively under the direction and control of Google, and Amazon and so forth. They are in control of programming it, and mainly with the money. I know that they've got people using it, but they subscribe to the whole system. And then at the end of the day, once you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of adverts and lots of possible meanings, and they compare it up and match it to your actions and interactions, it's almost like you've got a friend or a buddy or a pal who knows a little bit too much. In fact, far too much. But it's like he's a member of a political party, and not yours. Like the Google or whatever, this entity. I really don't like it. And the fact that, they're going to bring in regulations to control superpowered AI, oh yeah, but not the government. The government will clearly be exempted, like they're exempted from smoking in Parliament, So I really don't just like the principal idea of it. When you're younger and you're thinking up of all these ideas with your imagination, I could make this or do that. There are many, many things that, you can explore in the ideology and imagination, which you think, oh, yeah, these things are good, or maybe I've got morals. I could do this, it would be cool if we could do this or that. But the person with morals kind of like stops themselves and thinks, maybe I shouldn't do that. It's like the thing moral to do with whether you cheat on someone or whether you, shortchange someone or anything like that. And I think Zuckerberg, his generation now, these tech people, they don't have those morals, I don't think. Because this is the thing with Trump. You've got to want to sell people cigars and tobacco and encourage them to buy them, which is, causing them cancer and killing them. It's just a bad moral choice. Banning, they ban tobacco adverts, Now, you don't have to, ban smoking or even make smoking illegal to not sell them the cigarettes or encourage them. Sell them edamame beans instead or something like that. It's choices, How about, yeah, this is great. We've got loads of adverts on this platform and we're making a ton of money. We can improve the platform, but there wasn't really anything that wrong with YouTube. At the end of the day, you could put comments and watch videos. A lot of this fine tuning is just really more to implement this AI. They took away like your ability to dislike something. It's like what Kier Starmers wanting to do now, take away the thumbs down, or even block it. They've even got an option to claiming to let you block certain ads and they're not supposed to appear again, but they do, right? Because the person just ends the advert and starts a new one. It only blocks that particular run of that video or that ad stream until it's finished and they start a new one. So you know, that they're claiming, you know, all these new assault of things on us, but they're claiming, oh no, well, you can protect yourself, you can block it if you really don't like it. But Starmer doesn't believe in that because he's about to unleash building and planning on the entire nation, apparently, that we can't object to it, when I don't think he can't do it by the underlying petition right to the council chamber with the mace of Parliament. He can't. You know, even if someone's doing something that isn't illegal, like, look, we're building and planning, right? It doesn't have to, you know, like, I mean, they're doing this thing now in certain towns where, you know, the council can put a ban on certain things, like Big Brother Watcher saying that banning people from wearing hats in a certain area, but there's nothing in law that says hats are illegal. It's almost like they're making up their own policy, like these companies, like, oh, we can terminate your account for any reason or no reason, or, you know, we can make orders for banning certain things in an area. In England, it's not illegal to wear a hat, right? It's just ridiculous. They're giving these council ridiculous directives now that defy law, because at the end of the day, even if you wear that hat, at the end of the day, you're meant to have peers in a magistrate's court or a county court, and you know, ultimately they're meant to decide judgment of peers, but they're not doing that now. They're fining you by the council or giving you an ASBO or arrest for not doing what they say, but you're not getting judgment of the peers. And remember, this is a council coming up with these. It's like giving the council like these mini legislative policies. It can't be the way forward. We're being, you know, and there's this whole new thing about antisocial. You know, there's nothing that the main political parties and the government like more than in London on the tube when no one talks to each other, because then it is actually anti-social. All of these things are implementing are actually anti-social. We're not anti-social. Socialising is social and being yourself in your own character. What they're actually doing is they're trying to create a culture that is anti-social by throwing the term in, like accept cookies, accept cookies, accept cookies. But they're using the term accept cookies, but the wording is accept the cookies. Now, if that doesn't mean accept the cookies, what does? But they're claiming that in life, they're actually wanting to try and, you shouldn't eat cookies because they're bad for you. You should eat more healthy, you know, veg and fruit. But they've got this term going around that you know, accept the cookies. So they've got a contradiction now. To even conjure up the word antisocial, this is another King Charles World Economic Forum term, antisocial. They're claiming that everyone else is antisocial. But what they're actually doing is, by the time they're finished, that no one can even socially engage because it either offends someone or they don't want to hear it or they don't like it. And the tolerance to it, because they've got these button controls and so forth, is even less. That it's so fascist that it's unbelievable. Like, you know, no one speaks to anyone on the bus or the tube. It is a con, like accept cookies. And the problem is they don't want people to form very strong, tight-knit social groups that outcompete or get bigger than Labour or Tory, the main groups, or even these big corporate organisations that are building and buying up everywhere and that have built all the bad things in the first place, right? This is really how it is. And, you know, well, you're meant to get the judgment from your peers in the magistrates' court, and then they can disregard the law. You're never going to get that with these stupid new policies in these, you know, areas where you can't wear a hat. When it's a magistrate or judge, you're going to disregard the law if you were wearing the hat. And neither is a council. But your peers could, and that is in Magna Carta. And we've got this new Attorney General, you know, Hormer, who claims that, oh yeah, I want to reinvigorate the Constitution, all the ancient rights and privileges, uphold them all, you stand up for rights and Constitution, yet he's meant to be under the Prime Minister who's got completely different plans and a completely different agenda and objective. And the fact is, by the time they've finished with us, with this anti-social, which actually will be against socialising, right? Because you don't know who they are or where they're from or whether to trust anyone, or if they might say something that you don't like anymore because you're used to just pressing a button to get rid of anything you don't like, unless it's the big corporate entities or companies and you have to put up with it. Notice you can't block them permanently unless you pay up money or something. Or even so, it is that if we did have a magistrates court at the moment now, I don't think it would be a court of conscience like they had, after the Bill of Rights. They had all these courts of conscience in Bristol and London and here and there based on the principle of the right to petition and having a conscience. I think that people would be convicting you. Some of the admins in the groups now, there are groups that are meant to be protecting trees or greenbelt or objecting to planning, and they're desperate for people to help them. They're desperate for donations, petition signatures, put objections in. They're desperate. There's so few people in these groups. Some of them have only got about 2,000 people at the most. They're desperate for help. Okay, I like trees and I want to protect the environment and I like the countryside. And, this is the perfect place I was looking for. But every single one of those groups has got, admin authorization to put a post. You can't speak to the public, to your peers, without permission of one person, a mini overlord, right? Yet in the Public Meeting Act, that is illegal to block you putting evidence or not participating in a group, right? And we've ended up with this intolerance level, even when you're trying to help them. I've been in groups where it's like, wow, I've got this legal procedure. I thought about it. I've worked it out. It can work. We just need to get people behind it. And then they just, they delete or remove you from the group. That's actually illegal at the moment, right? And this is the thing with Starmer and the whole basis of these current politicians. They don't want you to be able to come with the thing that's going to beat them or block them. But now some of these other groups, they don't even want you to help. Or even if you can help, they're desperate for help, but either they can't understand it or they want to be in charge of who's helping or they want to be the hub of the help or something. It actually is illegal currently. It's actually illegal against the law at the moment, what they're doing to it. And it's actually anti-social. And a lot of these, you look at the group rules you haven't even broken any, I won't mind, but you haven't actually broken any of those group rules and you haven't broken any law, but the admins they're doing it unlike. There's a lot of the women now from these new morning TV programs and this whole culture that all of the, GB News and Talk TV and all the newspapers are pushing and the morning TV shows, it actually comes down to, it's like loose women, but it's like, don't like. You get cancelled because some woman just doesn't like it. It's not actually against a written group rule. It's not actually against a law of the country. It's just like, don't like. And really, that is illegal, and that is anti-social because they're just going on what they like and don't like then. And that is what you get down to on the tube, don't want to talk to anyone, you don't like talking in public. And then you've got these policies the councils can bring in, like not wearing a hat in a certain area. And then you don't even get the judgment of your peers. Starmer and Sunak have got to be on another planet, really, with this. And if Hormer, the new Attorney General, he's made this statement. I've read it. I actually took the time to read it. How many people in this country went to read the new Attorney General's new declaration? I didn't watch him being sworn in because actually I was watching the Stonehenge legal case. It's the first entire legal case that I've watched. You know, and £130,000 worth of legal case over 3 days to stop a $2.5 billion tunnel or 3 billion tunnel, whatever it is, road tunnel, right? And I contributed some good legal material towards that. Not that I want any credit for it or anything, as long hopefully it helps contribute towards the case. But you know, he is sworn in. Right, I was watching. Maybe I would have watched it, but I read. I went to the trouble to read what he put, and it sounds like he's being genuine. It sounds like he's being honest. It sounds like he actually does believe in existing rights that are meant to be enforced and the rule of law, not this new ridiculous rule of law that's coming on. You know, they'll have to wear hats in a certain area because some councillors vote on it or whatever. What judgment of peers is that? You know, particularly if it's an opposition party, definitely not a mixed-up jury like we meant to have now in Crown Court, you know, jumbled up, random, you know, peers, not these, you know, biased councillors who can't really exist because they've got a policy of impartiality and actually selflessness. If you're selfless, you can't even have a self that's affiliated with a political party. That's another entire argument. You know, if I won the lottery on that, I could go to court and take every single political party down. You know, I've got legal cases now, ideas for legal cases with solid, factual law and evidence that makes sense, is correct, is not wrong, is right, and not in error, where they're in error and they're wrong and they're not right. And, you know, if I had pro bono won't do it because all the pro bono people are just from other chambers that are affiliated with certain political main parties, and when they're doing free pro bono work, they don't want to do that. Why would someone on pro bono doing a bit of voluntary work, voluntary law work, right, part-time, right, you know, for the goodness of their heart, who works at Chambers but is a dedicated Conservative or Labour Party, why are they going to do a free legal case on pro bono for you, right, to prove that political parties actually are illegal currently, at least in local councils, because they've got a policy of selflessness that they've got a sign where no councillor can act with their own conscience of their own self, but only on their electors. So they can't actually have a party affiliation. Even if they got voted in by a majority of a certain party, they aren't going to agree with them on every single matter that goes on the council table. It's going to be different based on the evidence of each case that's put to the council. You know, this is the thing. I mean, Chris Packham's meant to be calling for a meeting with Hormer, right? I mean, if I had, 15 minutes with Hormer or half an hour, I'd set out issues on the table which they're valid. This is not pseudo-science or pseudo-law like some people who, are just throwing things around and they don't really know what they're talking about and they haven't really studied it or checked it out properly. It's not pseudo-law. It's not like someone with crystals and incense, pretending that, they're a Buddhist when they're just, kicking it around. They're not actually correct. This is like proper law. Actually, compatible and fitting in and correct with the legal system, which is shown to be in error at fault. And, is Hormer going to sort it out? Is he standing for the people or not? He claims that he's not acting on behalf of any particular political party, but I'll believe it when I see it, Starmer's main agenda now, one of his main agendas is meant to be, taking away a right to object to building and planning. So you can only decide what it's going to be or how it's going to be. It can't be possible. It can't be, because at the end of the day, that would mean that someone wouldn't need to make a case to build if you didn't need to have permission to build. And they're still going to have to make a case to build to say how it's going to be built. it's almost like I said, it's similar to the same as if you just like made it not illegal to headbutt anyone or remove the offence of assault, right? If you remove the offence of assault, right, so it's not criminal anymore to assault anyone, right? You can still, if someone came up and headbutted you and you had to go to the hospital and it cost you couldn't go to work and you were out of wages, you could have a civil claim against that person because they did something to you that put you out of money, right? Even if you're on the NHS or if you had to have private treatment, even if it's not because you've always got a plaintiff, you've always got a party, and you can always have a claim about something, whether it's ownership, right? Like I said, you don't need any law or legislation when you've bought or owned something to say this is mine, right? And you got the receipt for it. You go to a court and you say, that's mine, I want the money for it or I want it back. And ultimately, we're supposed to have a jury in civil court who decide on the evidence to prove that it is yours. And at the end of the day, like I said in other videos, they don't have to base it on law, on the law of the land, or on judged by the conscience of the jury, but only on evidence. This is why the jury have to be based on the evidence, because if you ain't got any evidence, nothing happened, right? If you don't have any evidence of something, then you haven't got anything to decide or judge, right? So, you have to have a comment, a statement, a thing. You have to have a subject, right? You have to have a subject, a thing, right? And then the opinion on that thing is the jury's conscience, right? Usually, you're in the court or went to the court usually because of a law or because of an ownership or something like that, possession or whatever. But you don't need to have a law. At the end of the day, civil court is dispute between a party. If someone, there are loads of civil actions, and I've said this about Starmer, right? If someone with a load of money just can buy land or build without any restraint, what impact is that having on the community and the social order? Starmer's saying, oh, well, okay, then we'll let you choose how it's going to be, what style it's going to be. But what if that is going to ruin that community and cause resentment between people and they don't want to talk to them? And then you've got this antisocial, and then, they really don't want to talk to them. And when they do, they're grumpy. This is what slowly drags us into this inner city thing that Sunak claimed he wanted to solve. Oh, what is all these knife problems? Why is the theft in inner cities? Why, how can I please these youths? What will make them happy? What can we do? Build them a new sports centre? It's not like that in villages or even in suburban areas as much. The more and more urban you tend to go, the worse it gets. And then what they do, rather than just bickering among themselves, they point the finger and blame the Conservatives because they're the one who's making all the money and all with the nice places and put the others into this poverty. The Crown Prosecution Service have never been problem solvers. The CPS doesn't exist, right, to solve problems, to prevent them. All it does is, you did this, we've got evidence on you on that, this is the law, this person is a victim, that means that we all have to have sympathy for them and apparently help them, send them to social care or pay for them to have people to go around, Samaritans, and talk to them or whatever support they call it. But if they would have solved these problems, and I'm not talking about solving them by banning everyone this antisocial, people have got to have character and difference, or we're all just going to end up like clones, and Starmer's wanting diversity in culture. They're claiming diversity, get more cultures in, get more religions in, get more ethnic mixes in, right? And then when we have these differences that he wanted to bring in, then he's calling everyone out for being different. and not having the same social... He wants everyone to be this exact identical social behaviour and norms when he's bringing different people in who are genetically and inherently different. And then he's blaming people who won't accept difference, right? We've got to accept difference, but then in your behaviour, he's not accepting difference. He isn't in his model. And that is an absolute contradiction. I don't think that, and this is the thing, he'll just say, oh yeah, it's impossible to solve that, oh, it's too big, but this is what he's doing. He's actually doing this. And this is actually, it's like a vortex, It's almost like, suck them in and spit them out. It's like a wash. He's taking us to the cleaners, but it's not really cleaning us. It's like, he's sucking more diversity and difference in, and then he's saying, oh, look at the mess. Now all be the same, right? Or you're out. And then he's throwing them out if they're not. And I don't think it is going to clean. I don't think it is going to take us to the cleaners because, there are more and more places that are the same now. Rather than the whole town centre being McDonald's and KFC, now you've got orbital McDonald's and KFCs. We actually have to stop, not press on and do more. And if he thinks that, we're going to do it right this time, we're going to do it correct this time, I don't think they are, because they're still continuing to do this. It's not the solution to give people who have taken money off everyone out of profits and actually cause them to be poor to then have absolutely unrestrained rule over what the world's going to be built and shaped like, because it's going to upset people. It's going to upset people, and I'll say this to Starmer: he's lucky that Corbyn didn't start another party properly like Reform did, because if Corbyn and the other Labour fractions would have done something seriously like Reform, then what would have happened is that they would have had a split vote in Labour, like with the Conservatives and Reform, and Starmer wouldn't have won. It would have been either a hung parliament or a mixture of parties, because it would have broken Labour up into bits. Then you'd have had Greens, Lib Dem, Reform, Tories, and two separate Labour groups. So Starmer is lucky, very, very lucky, really, that he's got in, because they haven't wiped the floor as much as what he claims. And, the whole principles of it is wrong. Why would you, if you had been the leader of the CPS and previously a human rights lawyer, right, why would you believe in not having a defence to something? Not having a defence. If you believe in law, surely you believe in a defence. But I don't think the prosecution believe in defence, because they don't even apply their rights properly when they're blatantly obvious. Max Hill didn't, the Director of Public Prosecutions. None of these Crown prosecutors are acknowledging privileges even exist, or the word's not even raised in a lot of these political cases, unless you raise it yourself, when it's easily recognisable by people advertising and promoting what they're doing, and they know what rights are being used, The CPS don't actually believe in defence. And in fact, they wipe the floor a lot of the times because people can't afford it or don't get the right lawyers. And there are many, many, many very, very good defences or legal work that people have done. Many people do their own legal work, which is good or even outstanding, and it doesn't get its value. Magistrates either, I don't know what's wrong with them. They either just totally blatantly disregard it, or they just won't agree when it's right. And many of them aren't legally qualified. the CPS really have. They claim that there's been a lot of tough cases with a lot of good lawyers, but actually, in the larger scheme of things, the people who don't actually get a lawyer or don't get a defence, but have a go themselves, they've been swindled. They've been absolutely fleeced by the legal system when they've got a very, very good case or argument that is actually true or factual, And that's why I think the CPS don't actually believe in a defence. Unless it's assisting offenders and then they get special privileges and protections when they're on the right team, then, Starmer can't be prosecuted. He's the Prime Minister. Apparently, no matter what harassment he causes to communities, or what nuisance he causes, people, 6 months of building, beep, 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 going all the time, no right to a defence. It can't be the way forward in justice or anyone who... But Starmer's even said that he wants a new country that's based on democracy. But he can't. If he's taking away the right to defend of one of the most major important things that there is, the right to keep your world as it is, keep your community unchanged, if so, because you actually like it. And then afterwards, if you don't like it, how can a man who's Prime Minister of England, right, pass something that actually has a real potential and is likely, not even likely, is certain to cause misery for a lot of people? Probably as much or if not more misery than happiness it creates for other people. And even the people who it's creating a bit of happiness for, they're moving into communities where resent's being generated, and then all these new social rules, you're not allowed to even grumble about it or complain in the street or, never mind tip your hat at them. Starmer will probably make it so you're not allowed to look away. And then we go back to, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, you're bowing and smiling as they pass. Have this caused misery? This is what the Labour, you hate the Tories for, because they put them in poverty, they put them in misery, and then, they expect everyone to, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, bow sir when you pass, as they're ripping you off and making you work for peanuts while they're ripping everyone off. It's so wrong. You want, if you believe in justice or law at any level of surety, you would believe in everyone not some elected councillor who's going to have a half bumbled case in a council and put a couple of hands up in a room. You would want people to come, not be blocked like on Facebook groups by the admin just because they don't like your comment, even though you broke no law, even though you didn't break any of the listed rules on the Facebook group, right? No one is barred or banned, and no one is prevented from laying evidence or facts, right? Or their statement of how it's going to affect them and why they like something and what they like about it. If you want to move to the future of England, who wouldn't want to know what other people in the immediate community think and feel? This is the Crown Prosecution Service, with victim support, feel about what this is going to do to the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives. In their immediate surrounding. It's almost like on Cheech and Chong, when they've got the motorbike in the next door garden revving the engine and he's got a pipe fitted on the back of it and he's pumping all the exhaust fumes into his neighbour's garden and it's killing all the plants or whatever, but they're not pumping exhaust fumes, they're changing the spirit and the atmosphere and what the place is. They're making permanent changes to the world. If the local community don't have a right to vote on that and then decide not some consultation that doesn't have to be looked at, or doesn't have to be taken into account by the council. It's just a pseudo consultation. A pseudo consultation is that, we don't really give a fuck what you think or your opinion, but we've got to make it look like we do. So we're going to have this thing called a consultation to make it look like we care and make it look like we're bothered, but we're just going to do what the fuck, we're just going to build what we want anyway, right? That can't be right from Magna Carta, because then each peer of the people doesn't actually have a vote or opinion, what is equivalent to the jury of who it concerns. I mean, and the thing that Starmer doesn't understand is, what if the government or if Kier thinks that, the country needs more houses or whatever, or the country needs more McDonald's or KFC or more cinemas or more building, even though George Clooney will be out of the job because they're just going to use CGI instead to make, AI deepfake Clooney because it's cheaper. They don't need him anymore. He can go into early retirement once they've videoed all his full array of moves, and they can just implant him into films wherever, right? If a community does not want something, when it comes down to it, in their individual vote and opinion, then why should they have to have it? What right is there with just a brick of money? Now, if someone doesn't mind it there, or if it's in middle of Northumbria, where, there isn't anyone to object, and, no one's seen any trees or fields, or they're not doing large areas of it HS2 Rebellion were complaining about the HS2 train line going through all these ancient forests. If they're not doing these 400 home developments at a time, like they're doing in Ireland, that are unstoppable. Well, apparently you can petition against it to the council, but other than that, it's apparently unobjectable. It's the worst thing. You ought to be building houses spaced out, but then you go, what about travel? But they're bringing this stupid paper mile thing in, aren't they? You don't really want to be doing that in those areas. Why not, build nice hamlets that everyone dreams of in movies like Stardust or whatever, spread out where we've got loads of countryside, and, make beautiful places that aren't going to be these urban areas. And people who like cities, they can move to the city. There's nothing stopping people moving to city, or even maybe building a new city where there are no objections to it. At the end of the day, it's down to two parties. It's either Party A, who have the who carry the consent of the community, right? Who decide where and what, or it's a person with all the money, because they can afford to and no one else can. They get to buy, they're the ones who profit off it. Although you might say, well, the provision of homes is providing something, but they don't get it for free, It cannot be down to money. It can't be down to money that designs this country. It should be on what people vote for or want, in communities and what they're happy with. And then when they say, that's enough now, then stop. You have to find other places. They've got all these Google Maps on there. Instead of using it wisely to find places and the right places, we had all the sharks go on there who flooded onto there and just bought everything up, and then boom, went and did it. It's done now. They've sharked Google Maps. They got in there, they bought everywhere up, and they did what they wanted to it, and now it's done, it's gone, and they wanted to push it even further. You can't have money. You can't buy England. it comes down to this. Starmer wants people to be able to buy this country. And if you believe in that, then you believe that you can buy people for money, pay them off, like buy yourself a Roman army and, take over. That's what Starmer believes in, buying people. And most Labour voters don't have money. They can't afford to buy people. But Starmer wants the Labour Party to be bought by the Tories. So really, he sold it to the Conservative Party. It was being sold. Why give up your rights? Why sell your rights away when it's your vote? Yet Starmer, ironically, and Zuckerberg and this whole online movement, they believe in the will of the person when it comes to Facebook groups, because then they can't form strong groups or big groups, because then it's all controlled and administrated, antisocial, even illegal against the Public Meeting Act, and they can't form. This is like Jeremy Corbyn. Starmer wanted Corbyn out, right? And Galloway, Galloway, in Starmer's scheme of things, there's no place for Galloway in Starmer's government, and anything that would give Galloway power to form a opposition, he's against it, and he's going to do what it takes to beat him. The same with Corbyn. And this is what he's doing with communities now in their areas, treating them as, Starmer or Corbyn. And in fact, there's apparently there's loads and loads of properties that Conservatives own that aren't even used, or second homes, or places that need money to, make them warmer or get rid of mould or whatever, or make them more livable, that people could be in already that could be used up. Something could be done about that, but, the Tories don't want that. But surely the solution cannot be to give unchecked power to people purely with money, because it just isn't. There's no defence. There isn't. Yeah, my argument is that really Starmer can't win, because in civil law, you don't need a law. You don't need a building or planning law. At the end of the day, if someone has done something detrimental to you, which is, in America, they're suing people for all sorts, what happens if they build houses and all the plants die in their garden? Starmer will laugh at that. But in a court, in a civil claim court, someone's been put at a loss. If there's no defence to that, it's Kier Starmer. I think he wants to take he walks around with the title Sir Kier Starmer, right? But he doesn't want you to have a shield, let alone a sword. No blades, no bows now, even in the post. And you'd be lucky to get a suit of armour, Savile Row. I don't think Starmer likes a fair fight or fair battle. He can't believe in the principle of a defence, a fair defence. He wants to take it away. Oh, you can judge how you're attacked. You can decide, if your opponent's going to headbutt you, kick you in the balls, rugby tackle you, stab you in the back. But, other than that, I'm sorry, but, you can't have a defence. You have to stand there and take it. It just depends what style would you like to be defeated in, What style would you like your opponent to defeat you in a nice, pleasant style, or just, rubber tackle you down. This man cannot believe in a fair trial or a fair case of anything, because he doesn't want you to be capable of defence. That's it. He doesn't want us to be capable of a defence in any community, on the basis that, we're going to do something, we've got to do it, I need to take a wee, I've got to wee somewhere, and, I'm going to wee whether you like it or not, But, you could decide, if I pee with my back facing you or straight down the front of your shirt, or maybe I'll just pee in your bush, or maybe I'll pee with my leg cocked up like a dog. How do you want me to take you? How do you want me to take this village? With my leg cocked up, or, laid on the floor, peeing up in the air like a fountain? There's no defence with Starmer. There is none. I don't think that he can do it, because the legal system is based on Magna Carta and on judgment by peers, really, on any matter, whether civil or criminal, even if there is no law. They didn't have half as much legislation back then to define what was illegal or not. But if someone had wronged you, at least a jury could decide, yes, you've been wronged, or yes, the other person was in the wrong. He can't do it. He can say that he's done it, but then we're getting on to Sadiq Khan with the Liberty of London, that clearly is in Magna Carta, ancient liberties of London. What are they? One of them is the toll-free London and no tax on personal property, still in effect. What is it? Well, it's the A5 Watling Street, running straight through London. It's meant to be toll-free. It's meant to be the free passage or whatever for traders and so forth, or whatever. That's a legal thing that hasn't been removed. Yet the congestion charge is contravening it. And so is ULEZ. Starmer is not going to freely, openly admit it or talk about it. And neither is Sadiq Khan. And trying to get other people to talk about it is difficult because, getting attention now is hard. I still think they're using algorithms in the groups. And even when they're interested in political rights and campaigns, they're on one. These people are charged. Even when they're interested in the same thing, they don't necessarily listen or understand. Even I speaking to someone, that they're posting about, this case and that case and political rights, but, I'll explain it to you. I'll try to help you out. And like, there's no point, I can't understand it. It's too complicated. But it's actually not complicated. I cannot, calculate how Starmer can do it, because in law there's not just one way of doing something, and it's gonna, if Roger Hallam is gonna cause a nuisance by even planning to do a political action on a motorway, which might annoy people and slow it down, how is a housing build not going to, if people didn't want it in the village and it's going to upset them forever, the rest of their lives, how is that not going to cause more than just a nuisance of Roger Hallam on a motorway for 3 hours or 2 hours? It is anxiety permanent. And when you actually find out of these people and ask them properly, officially on record, if you care to ask them, then you find out that, I don't like it and I didn't want it, and maybe they didn't hear about it or know about it, or maybe because they've been gypped off that much, or they haven't, the council just, doesn't regard the consultation legitimately, or doesn't take it seriously, disregards it, or it's just like, a mock consultation to make it look like that they're checking. This is nuisance, anxiety, harassment to communities that, yet the CPS are putting people in prison for 5 years. Roger Hallam's been put in 5 years for even planning to cause a nuisance, and he's meant to be under parliamentary privilege. It clearly states in Thomas Erskine May that petitions to Parliament calling for an action which are officially consented to fall under parliamentary privilege. There is no different privilege. It is one privilege for matters concerning and connected with Parliament. It's like an on-off switch, right? And if Roger Hallam can be prosecuted, or Nick Arlott, you just for doing a demonstration near Sadiq Khan's house, and Sadiq Khan said, oh, it's harassment, it's causing me harassment in the vicinity of my house, right? And the police arrest 5 of them, right? And charge them. This is the Mayor of London. He's saying he doesn't want people harassed, but yet he's caused everyone to be fined and in debt to his fines, even when it actually was unlawful. He doesn't have the legal right to do it. If those ULEZ supporters were under parliamentary privilege, those signs that they're using are the class. They had petitions to Parliament under Dave Fowler and Tim Rowling, and they were getting more public advertisement for it. They were advertising the fact that they were doing a political campaign to oppose Sadiq Khan's ULEZ. It is under parliamentary privilege of that enactment, tells you can apply it in the Town and Country Planning Act. You're under parliament privileges for that. You can't be prosecuted for harassment because you've got a legal right, and that Section 42 of that Police Act, it is not applicable. And if it is, then you can prosecute the Prime Minister for even planning to change planning applications that are certain to cause anxiety and harassment to communities without a defence. And this is what Article 9 kicks in from the Bill of Rights. It says illegal prosecutions for a crime or offence when it's matters that are decidable, debatable by Parliament. Well, the Stop ULEZ campaign was actually, they did do an action in Parliament or try to put it through. It was in connection with that. The Tories laid it down that they were going to do a vote on it. So that case did get addressed in Parliament and actioned. So why is Khan prosecuting for harassment? It's the same privilege. There isn't any separate privilege for elected ministers, members of Parliament, than people who are using Parliament to oppose it fairly, in or out. If either Nick Arlott and Hallam, who is now being put in prison, either they can't be prosecuted, they can't be capable of nuisance for harassment for those actions, or, Keir Starmer can be. The Prime Minister can be prosecuted, therefore, if his actions cause an offence, a crime, harassment, anxiety, ongoing anxiety for 6 months at a time, beep, 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 not building noise, the slow sadness and destruction of the spirit of the town and community, even if they claim we're improving it. Now that the community decide if they're improving it or not, but I won't mind, but there's no one in the new House proposal to even have a vote what they think. They've got to get people in there first, right? And then you've created a new community with a fraction. Kier Starmer doesn't want. This is the worst thing about Starmer. Why he's stubborn and why he's not a man of integrity and honour and honesty in England. Because he doesn't want a fraction in his party. He won't have George Galloway in his party. He won't have Jeremy Corbyn in his party. It's a fraction that isn't to the agreement or happiness of the little Labour community that they've got. But Starmer wants to create fractions in communities, bring new voters in who are all happy they got a new house, where everyone else has, got a big miserable face now. They've obscured all the views and brought more traffic noise through. Oh, we'll solve that. We'll make everyone pay per mile so they're able to drive everywhere. How about charging Jeff Bezos triple
You know, about every HGV having to pay quadruple. But all these things they're making in the HGVs deliveries are unnecessary. Cardboard packaging, you know, plastic packaging, widgets and wadgets, and things that are just, 5 minutes of distraction or entertainment. Doctor Who toy, or whatever it is. I don't think Starmer cares. And I don't think that he's going to take this into account, because I don't think that he wants to take the public consultations into account, just like the Tories didn't want to take them into account. It's a con. It's a dead-end avenue where they're making it look like they're letting everyone have a say, have a consultation, and then, we've done our bit, but really we don't have to regard it. So you're not actually having a say that has an effect, like a jury. In the jury, your opinion has effect to the outcome, right? Starmer doesn't want us to have an effect to the outcome, because it's not the outcome that he wants. And if you want to help other people, there are other ways to do it. And this is what Ed Davey was saying. Ed Davey was saying that, in the right places, in the places, where people aren't opposing it or don't care. There are plenty of places. You can't take away the right to oppose and object. Like you say, it's no defence. And at the end of the day, you don't need a defence, because you can bring a grievance. You can petition on any subject. You can bring the grievance, and you can raise you have been offended, or in civil you've been put at some kind of loss, whatever loss it is, and you want compensation. But this is the thing, pay them off. No. If councils now can conjure up these orders that they're deciding what the criteria are, like these companies making policies, but it's not an actual law. Oh, you can't wear the colour red, or you can't wear a hat, right? They're actually deciding you will or won't do something, but there isn't a law for. Only a law. Like, we're going back to bylaws. I thought they thought bylaws were something of the past. Barry Sheehan has spent his life fighting against going back to the Middle Ages, going back to the Dark Ages. Oh, we're not going back to the Dark. Kier Starmer now, and then Sunak want more bylaws. They're actually, that's going back in time. Right? Well, why can't we go back in time to leave the villages alone and not overbuild them? Oh, no, that's not progress. But it's progress when they're making ridiculous bylaws based on what? Which is why, if that council can come up with its own conjurings of some area, right, that isn't even in law, they can make it up as a policy under their own government, then why can't a community conjure up something they don't want in their village or area that, even if Starmer takes the law away? Because at the end of the day, it's the judgment of the peers, even in civil matters, right? Which is what he's wanting to do with these new stupid council rules and regulations and zones. Apparently, it's the judgment of the council. They can just decide, make their own actual local bylaws up in any given area. But we can't have a defence against Starmer's new stormtrooper army, new builders army, who are all being paid off to go against communities, just like we've stopped ULEZ. They're being paid off. They're taking us with a paid force, a paid army, and now even using AI. And sometimes when I listen back to my videos, they don't even sound sometimes as good as when I was saying it. And I think that I won't be surprised if people are editing it or changing it with AI, because they can copy voices quite easily now with AI and add and remove stuff. add and remove stuff quite easily. So if you make a valid point or a strong point, it can be removed, so your argument's not as good. And that is what we're looking at now with what the Conservatives are up to behind the scenes, who want to beat us and win. So, you know, I'm going to send this to the Attorney General's office. And it's meant to be a fully funded department. It's meant to be a fully funded governmental office and department with people to actually listen to your points and take notes on it. That's what we pay for. And the Attorney General is meant to be advising the Prime Minister and on legal cases and how legal cases should be progressed, really. So if this isn't under the remit of the Attorney General's office, I don't know what is, whether there's even a right to defence anymore. Even if someone can defend something, or even if they can turn it into a civil matter. So they're the ones actually taking... That's what they're doing in Ireland, effectively. In Ireland, well, it's still a response to someone's application, but you're taking a petition to the council to get the council to act. The worst thing with Starmer is this, on this point of these things. The planning rules haven't been followed. They've been cheated for the last 10, 20 years or longer. They're not putting notices up to notify people. And then they put them up after the time's expired. So they cheat it, so people don't object, right? That's cheating, and that is widespread. And then the council's a lot of the points you raise or whatever are being put aside or not taken seriously. They're judging it all on point of law or rule of law, when even in the Court of Civil Requests, which is what this is originally meant to be, that it can be purely on a jury deciding. It can be purely based on a jury. On the matter, or on the conscience of the people, not on law. That's what we need to be actually doing and going back to, without people being blocked, banned, stopped from laying evidence, or putting the thoughts and feelings on specific matters across what things people want to protect and keep and why. Because none of this is taken into account or regard under the current rules. It doesn't have a value to these councils. Just only money, pound notes are a value, not how much happiness a feature or view or scene brings to a certain number of people. There's a value on there. But like I said, you've got these art collectors, Tories mainly, with corridors of paintings. He's not even outside a corridor. You know, there's a £20,000 painting, then there's a £5,000 painting, then there's another it's like for your eyes only on 007. Like staircases and corridors, and some councils have got art in their stores, assets that is in storage and not even looked at. No one's even looking at it, but it's worth 20, 30, 40,000 pounds. They're all probably selling them off now because they're all skint. Yet, they won't vote to protect something, probably because they don't even see the value or beauty in it, when there might be 50, 100, 200 or 1,000 people who have been driving past that every day, and it has a actual value, even if there's no profit being made from it. You know, maybe, right, this would be an idea, actually. This could be an idea for something like the art sector. This could be a completely new actual revolution. Rather than seeing one painting as £1 million or £2 million, right? If communities, villages, areas, right, started designating or voting for views, things or scenes, right, that have value, right, value A or value B or whatever, once you start writing a number in it, okay, there's a landowner, someone owns the land and the land's worth something to someone, but if people walk past
even a little street corner. This is value, right? From here to here, in this area, not like that stupid area they've got where you're not allowed to wear hats, right? Like when you put a protection order on a tree, you can get a protection order on a tree, but apparently that's not enough, like with that Save Darwin Oak, with that highway. But at least, they have them, they protect them to a certain extent, right? If they start designating a feature or area as art, well, they do. They've got modern art, urban art, but not in that sense. But usually, because we'll buy you some new art, we'll pay for your new corporate art or a new town centre that's cultural, modern things that already exist, right? That no one has placed a value or price on it, right? You can say this is art and it has a value to the community. Besides, you could say it's got John Perkins' house front next to the trees that are run by the council and the pavement, might even be period pavement or whatever, with an old phone box, just for example. And that there is art. Not the painting of it. Oh, someone painted it 10 years ago and it's on Earl Wumperninkle's wall. Apparently it's worth, £6,000. Well, that's funny because this is the actual place that was painted and they're going to bulldoze it, and put McDonald's there. If you had £6,000, you could probably get people to sign a petition or do something to object to it. But that's the thing. The value, other than just cash, is not getting recognised or translated onto paper in the council. The value is not there. And you might say, well, no one's living in it, or this or that. No one's living in a painting on Earl Walpole's fucking corridor. No one is living in a painting on Earl Walpole's fucking corridor in a £30,000 fucking painting. No one's living in it, right? No one, unless it's Ghostbusters 2 and there's some kind of phantom comes out of it. No one's living in it, right? But it's value to him because he's got a stockpile of paintings filling each wall that amount to £10 million or something. This is the thing. Right? This is the thing. Oh, I like that cricket club. I grew up there. Oh, I like it as well. But Kier Starmer, no defence. No defence. Here comes Bill Gates with a big suitcase of money. It's mine now. And then there's a Lidl there with a big concrete pointed corner, like at top of our town centre. God knows how that got there. I didn't have a chance to object to that. I don't know who did. They put a big concrete corner, like some kind of big, sharp, massive walled concrete point at the top of a town, which is actually an insult because we've been complaining about the Kingsgate Centre, which looks like some sort of Norman fortress, and the Starship Enterprise University building and the rest of it. People are holding. People are making videos on YouTube and getting money for the monetization, but we need to somehow monetize actual places or things that actually have a value. No painting has a value until someone says, oh, I'll give you that for it, or now it's worth this because we like it, right? So it's when the community vote by petition, or when they sign, I like this, this is nice, right? That translates. This is the problem with legal cases like Stonehenge. They've had to pay $130,000 for a court case over 3 days with barristers, right? Yet they'd already got petitions to Parliament
They'd already got over 200,000 signatures, I think, which the value of those signatures is to take it into Parliament so you get free representation from MPs on the matter in the committee and evidence and witnesses called, so you don't have to pay solicitors. It even says in the history books, all through the archives, that lawyers never like petitions, particularly Parliament ones, because there's no money in it. And what they're doing at the moment is they're running a double standards, dual jeopardy of law, double track. So lawyers can make strong cases and get money at the same time people are petitioning to Parliament when they've already got way over the threshold of what they need. The value of those petitions is beyond any money because you've got people's will and consent to it, which is not easy to get. When Starmer gets elected, he values every single person who voted for him. It's priceless. It's priceless because that is their consent and power invested in him to be Prime Minister, right? Or else he won't be there. It's more than money can buy. You can pay for as many adverts as you want, really, but ultimately, unless that person will consents to it, but Starmer doesn't believe in that value in a community, in a vote, on one matter or the other. As long as he's getting his numbers and figures to meet some kind of national, economic number, which actually is only a prediction. And the country's so complicated. The country is not a graph. The country is not set out like a maths grid. It's an intricate weaving of diversity and character, and every place is unique and different and needs to be treated so. And he needs to fit his plans in with something that is not so easily set out that he can just predict certain numbers and say, oh, we've got to meet these figures or not. And if he can't do that now, when supposedly we're meant to have AI that can solve all his problems, but not jip us off with his problems, actually solve them, why doesn't Starmer just wait, if he's going to have this AI, whether we like it or not, right? This is what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. his point is making when it comes to AI to solve problems. Why doesn't Starmer just wait, right, before he unleashes hell, so we can proper assess, survey what people like and want to preserve and where not to build, and then fit his building plans in with what is left? But the fact is that I don't think he wants to, because he can't care about what is now. He can't. And you don't want to be creating more misery and more unhappiness out of places that are already content. This is a problem with the war. When they all sent us to war, really people didn't want to go into heavy industrial explosion. They were happy with the war, send us to war, we'll make you build bombs, we'll make you work. There are problems in this country. People are upset and depressed, and we need to help them. We need to solve those problems. Even if we have to pay for it, even if we have to pay, half his wages to sorting it out. And by God, it'll take a lot less people's half wages than it will with, Gates and Bezos. But why rush into something when we can calculate and work out fairly through voting and opinion what needs to be protected? At the end of the day, if it calculates that, people like things and want to preserve certain things, then, I don't think Starmer wants to go with that. I don't think that he liked the outcome of it, which means that he can't be a man of democracy when he says that he's going to have more democracy. He can't be a man of, fairness, of jury, or of right to defend, or right to appeal, or right to object. He can't be. And ultimately, I don't think he can under this legal system, because he's only
he's proposing to change laws to make certain things not unlawful when there's always, there's always a damage suffered. There's always a loss suffered, and there's always a legal case to be had against something. Anything that another party can do, right, which puts you at a loss, you can take suit for it, right? So you must be able to take suit against people who are proposing to build houses. Or even when there's a crime and offence like harassment by the Prime Minister. Although he says he's got privileges, but, it's an offence though, Kier. Harassment, when proved that your actions, harassment is being caused, you could have avoided it by not making the decision to change the planning laws. Oh no, it's Article 9, illegal prosecutions by the King's Bench. I can do it. Well, that's funny, Kier, because all those protesters that you've been prosecuting, your prosecutors, and that are in prison now, Roger Hallam, are using the same privilege. And if you say they're not, you're lying. Because I'm reading the book that you're using for Parliament. It's not different. You're not higher than anyone else. That's the difference. And the courts can't handle it because there will be problems then. Which, that's not my problem. You shouldn't be causing people. Sadiq Khan has broke the law of Magna Carta in the Liberty of London. Read it, learn it, and by God, he's not going to admit it. He's a criminal, and he can be prosecuted. That's breach of privileges, because they've lied about what the law is. Should be a judicial review about it. They're claiming that it's been looked at. It hasn't been looked at. They looked at the Bill of Rights, not Magna Carta, and to do with parking charges and that Crittenden case, and they haven't properly looked at it. And even if they did, you don't want Jonathan Swift looking at it, who did all the government's books as an attorney in finance. We're being conned by these people, and it needs to stop. Because Labour don't represent working class people. They represent working class people making Tories prosperous, and then they make everything actually worse for everyone. But, not morning TV, morning television is distraction from solving these problems. Starmer thinks that because people switch on Jeremy Vine and then they're just out of it for, 2 hours. And then there's the game show to watch, and then you got to go to the cinema, pay attention to the movie, don't pay attention to what Kier's doing, don't pay attention to this building site next to your house. Well, it's hard not to, bang, bang, beep, 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 or turn the TV up louder, turn the game show up louder, we won't hear it, put sound insulation on. But what if there's someone outside at night time? Well, just get security cameras everywhere. Yeah, but I like to hear the actual sounds, the rain, the birds. I don't want soundproof walls. This is beyond. I don't think Starmer I don't think that his imagination gets into this level of philosophy. I mean, I just listened to the Hitler speech the other day, and Hitler was, actually, I've never listened to it before. He was calling out to philosophers and intellectuals. He was appealing to intelligent people, intellectuals, philosophers, to come join his Stormer soldiers' army and go to war, which basically means that he wants to send all the intelligent and intellectual people to war to fight English, so they probably die and not come back, And I still think that war was primarily orchestrated by a nod of both parties, to reduce probably the population of intellectuals and thinkers, because, they're an obstruction to industrial progress, to surveillance cameras, to new antisocial culture that they're building where people aren't social, accept cookies, If the Liberal Democrats don't block this Labour proposal then I don't know what is going to happen, really. And we're lucky the Tories didn't do it. But I think the Tories didn't do it. They were going to do it and then they stopped. But I think this is one of the handover deals with Sunak. Sunak knew that Starmer was going to do it. So I think they've just given it over to them. We'll be lucky if the Conservatives object to it. I object to it. I object to it because there are multiple reasons in law and in rights where it can't work because there's always a right of suit. And then, this what Big Brother Watch talking about, this, banning hats in certain areas by new council bylaw policies, which aren't even properly the law. This is antisocial. This is the new era of antisocial. Where's the enforcement of the Public Meeting Act been on the internet? Where's the enforcement of the Public Meeting Act been on YouTube? Where is my channel gone with all my evidence? We're not getting the Attorney General representing us. We're not getting this Crown Prosecution representing us. I shouldn't have to pay for a prosecution when someone's breaking the Public Meeting Act law. Why are we paying the police? Why are we paying the police to do it? They won't do it. They refuse. They put the phone down on you. There's something going wrong.